Hey traders, good afternoon. Welcome on back for another fantastic edition of our weekly workshop on Tuesdays here now. Great to have all of us here inside our live trading room. That being Traders Talk, Natalie, Grant, Leda, Michael, all of our students and trial members all together kind of just here. Great to see Elizabeth, Kathleen, Scott, Margaret as always, and Leda and Grant if I didn't shout you out just before once again, and Nabil and Kevin up top. But all of us here inside our live trading room. And then again, hey, if you're on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, out there on the internet streets, we'd love to have you at least join us directly inside our live trading room. We invite you there at the very end of this workshop at least, but make sure to hit the follow and subscribe button down below if you're new to our channel, platform, social media, all that good stuff. Now, I'll tell you what though, hey, throughout the morning, the afternoon, when we do the meetings on YouTube, we'll try and catch up with you then, right? Fausto and myself, we'll tell you in the 9 a.m. meeting, the 2:30 p.m. meeting, what moved the best, what stocks we jumped into, what stocks we took swing trades on. But this is where, hey, you got to be a member in our room to get the full commentary. What do I mean? Well, at least from yesterday afternoon, I was talking to everybody here in the 2:30 meeting, right? And then back again inside our live trading room. This stock HIMS, HIMS, beautiful move yesterday. Fausto called it out. Shout out to Fausto. He tossed this up to us here in our live trading room like an alley-oop in basketball. And, we slammed it home. We took this trade, ended up running it up from like 15:20. You'd figure reversal time at 10:30. Well, this only continued with higher lows. So I took like half my trade out going into 11 o'clock, but kept half in. Little responsible fun, right? Well, the thing with HIMS is this. There's two things. A, most of us in our room, if not maybe all of us, are familiar with this stock. It's not some low float, no name, jabroni stock. People know this company HIMS. Now, though, the last 6 months, folks, Roger, Uday, all of us here, who's been winning this battle? Last 6 months or so, who's been winning this battle between the buyers and the sellers? Sellers, absolutely, right? Lower highs, lower lows. Then you had the crazy stuff go down the beginning of February, the FDA cracking down on the GLP-1s, Novo lawsuit. Trust me, we're in the know with all the news. But that's where, hey, yesterday it led to a push and it was a day trade. I took half the trade out, kept half the trade in because, hey, maybe it could push up going into the market close. Maybe this could run going into the end of the day. And it tried, around 3 o'clock, it kind of peaked, just kind of stalled out a little bit for a little while. But otherwise, it did pop even more going into the pre-market hours this morning. So you're figuring, all right, higher lows, higher highs. Maybe this can really try and make a true short squeeze. Maybe the shorts will have to cover to the point where potentially, who knows, this could try and fill the gap, right? We have a gap to fill all the way up as high as 23. We went over that in our phase 2 course, gaps alongside gaps. We also talked about short squeezes. So this was just to say that, hey, on the HIMS trade, we still had resistance right around, like to me, it was around 17 bucks. I drew a line, went back even further, perhaps long term. Yeah, right around the 17-ish back March of 24. It was kind of holding below there though from middle of February, right? That was still kind of holding as resistance. So I was just kind of insinuating that, hey, if we could break over that 17 and hold over it, then there is a true chance to see this rip and go up much higher, whether it's to the gap fill or maybe it goes up to 20. What happens if that doesn't happen, though? Meaning, what happens if this only goes up to 17 and that's it? What if this doesn't break over 17 and attempt to flip that into support? Well, you know how this chart looks now, obviously, but that's just a reflection of who's been winning this battle predominantly the last 6 months, right? So that's where, again, we just mentioned what happens to a stock after the short squeeze up is over. Well, you're popping a balloon, right? Pretty much what happens is the sellers look to take over very fast again. And yeah, it pulled back here when the market opened up. But for me to take half my trade out yesterday and lock in a profit, all right, well, I was still up about 60 cents a share on the second half here as it's dragging down. So did I let go of some unrealized profit there by not getting out sooner? Yeah. Okay. Am I getting the death penalty for that here today, folks? Am I going to live to see another day? Am I going to live to see another trade? Well, the answer to the first question there is no, I'm not getting the death penalty. But the answer to the second question and the third would be yes, of course, I'm going to live to see another day. I'm going to live to see another trade. And hey, this only dumped off more, right? So I feel pretty good getting out where I did, right at 1580, 1578, and made some good money on it still. Just like fishing, there's thousands of other fishies out there in the sea for us to reel in. And hey, I'm saying that to myself as I say that to you. Because, hey, otherwise, there's other stocks that we focused on today. The RCAT, it dumped off a little bit afterwards, but this made for a quick little morning move, 1530 up to 16. That was pretty nice at first. There could be some life left on this trade for the afternoon. Don't let that go unnoticed. This is really slingshotting back up nice. So, yeah, RCAT could be in play going into this afternoon, perhaps even. Needs to hold back over that 1530-ish, though. Support should flip into resistance there. That should be easy. But we'll see if that could re-break later on. Where my bread was buttered, though, was on plug. We had a couple trades, at least, from the morning. But the one that we're doing really well on, at least as of right now, it's like watching the grass grow, but it's the plug trade. Real quick, who's in on the plug right now? PLUG from earlier today. If you made money on it earlier and that's it, it took your money and ran, let me know. Or if you're still holding on to plug right now as well, just give me a chat back here on the board because it's not like the easiest trade to hold on to. And I don't mean that because it's too volatile. I mean that because it's too slow. This really will test your patience. So, I wrote earlier in the trading room, keep in mind, I log in at like 8 o'clock every day, 7:30 pretty much under C2 admin. But I'm making posts at 8:30. I'm kind of tagging Rich out, giving him a little break there, right? Get him geared up for the open. But I'm posting some chats right at 8:30. Folks, that was the first thing I said. It was good morning, everybody. And then it was plug is like watching paint dry on a normal day. So hopefully it has an extra push this morning. Now, the news out on it, which led to a nice little play, it was the fact that they had good earnings plus new CEO. I think that's what it was. Good earnings plus a new CEO. Now, I don't know what the earnings were. I don't know the CEO's name. Don't know who he is or her, who she is either way. Just to say, though, that I see the stock trending up in pre-market. Well, contrary to the HIMS trend, folks, when a stock like this, I know it's like watching the paint dry. It's like really slow. But who's winning this battle here in pre-market? Who's winning that battle there in pre-market here for plug? What do we got? Dwayne, Tim, Uday, Margaret, all answering here. Higher lows, pushing up. The stock is positive on the days, but the thing I care most about is what's the trend of the stock leading into the open? Well, hey, I'd say this trend is up. Is it flying? Is it really ripping and running? No. Is it trending up? Yes. Higher lows. Who's winning the battle when the stock is, trending upward? The stock, the buyers, right? Now, the question that we have to ask is, where are the buyers going to win the battle from? Where have they been winning the battle from? Where may they be winning the battle from over time? Meaning, we need to know where our support resistance is, right? So this will basically segue me into the topic I did want to get to here for this workshop. Who here is Bookmap? Who here has level 4? If you're on, actually, you know what? No, pardon me. Sorry. You could chat me back there if you want. But how about this? We're going to ask a little poll question right now. Answer the poll question. It's going to pop up just here in front of you. So just answer the poll. I'll send it out in just a second, the results. But do you have Bookmap, the main version, or Thinkorswim? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Irrelevant. Just yes or no. And give everyone like another 20, 30 seconds. Just want some more people to write back or chat, answer the poll question there. Just click the little button right there. Should just kind of be right in front of you there. Right? A bunch of us. There we go. Responding more. So most of us have it. About 64% of our students here inside our live trading room have Bookmap, any iteration of it, right? Now, real quick, whose Bookmap was not working for them early this morning? Just chat me there in the trading room. Who here had their Bookmap all screwy this morning? It wasn't working. Sharon, Bill, Kevin, Roger off and on. I know Todd was saying it. Jerry was saying it. Sylvester, you had an issue, it looks like. All right. Well, you might ask, like, how do you trade without level 4? How do you trade without Bookmap? The answer? You trade easily, in fact. That's my answer. It's a smart ass answer, but you trade quite easily, actually. You just have to keep it simple. Real quick, for a cheap stock like this, folks, where should we assume for there to be iceberg orders? Without looking at any sort of order book, 50-cent levels and whole numbers, right? They wrote that right out the gate, Margaret, because we go through these motions each and every week, right? So right away, because of how frequent we go through this, for a real cheap stock like this, well, yeah, immediately 50-cent levels, whole numbers. All right, it broke above 2 here in the pre-market. This is all pre-market stuff here, right? But either way, chopped around 2. It was choppy, but it popped and started to make a move off of it, right? So when a stock breaks over resistance and it runs from it, the hope would be at least to see resistance flip into what? Support. Now, that can't be true. I mean, the fact that this came all the way down here to test 2, it broke under and over 2, which, for newer students here, even if you're going through phase 1 still, that is something we need in order to see support try and build and for us as traders to take an entry. So to have this break over resistance at 2, I know it was choppy in pre-market, but it broke over and made a pretty successful run. 10%, that's pretty good to me. Now, I don't have a fixed percentage number. I'm just saying, that's a nice move. So to have resistance break and the stock runs from it, hey, case in point, this made a sweet entry here, right? At 10 o'clock in the morning. So a lot of us here could have had the chance to jump in right from that 2 level. You just have to plan out resistance, knowing simply, rule of thumb, it's a North Star level, as I like to nickname it. Of course, it's not confirmed because you do need to actually check level 3, or if you have level 4, that too, but at the minimum, level 3. But it's still a rule of thumb. It's a North Star. It's a thing we could rely on at first. Especially the more the stock breaks over the resistance and runs off it, well, resistance flip. Now, that's where, though, okay, that's just an assumption. It worked out so nice here. Well, there were other levels, and I didn't take the trade from $2. I'm in from 209 right now live. Everyone sees on my screen here, the top right, you have my position manager there. So why 209? Why 209 here? Well, it kind of just falls back on what we had from pre-market. We just had pre-market resistance sitting there, right? Kind of just holding that pretty cleanly, 208-ish, 209-ish, right? This, and kind of just right here before the market had opened up. And I'll tell you what, real quick, we don't always want to rely on like the 10-cent price levels, especially for anything more expensive than this. But you know what? Hey, this topped off at 208, 209 here. We'll say 209. My belief is that there's likely to be some larger order, maybe even a larger iceberg, comparative to other prices, but there should be at least something there at 210 to complement that pre-market high. Now, for me on this trade, I ended up jumping in on this. This was going into like 11 o'clock here, was it? Oh, where's my entry? I'll show my entry. There we go. 209. I got filled pretty much right here. 10:25 in the morning. So it broke over this, and it broke over it also earlier in the morning. I tried to run off of it. I failed. That's where ultimately the $2 level bottomed out as support. All right, well, it's retesting it as resistance, and it broke over it here. It's not like a giant run, but at least I'm thinking the more times this thing is hammering resistance, poking at resistance, poke, poke, poke. Well, resistance, I'm thinking, should flip into support. So I had a stop set on this trade right below 204, below this wick. Thankfully, didn't get stopped out. That's the easy to say part. Uh, if anyone here doesn't think I don't mind showing a little egg on my face here, just look at the price of Netflix here, right? I mean, I messed that up horrifically. I got out so soon on this. So, I have no problem taking a stop out. Like if the stock kind of stops me out and then goes up higher without me. Thankfully, in this case, that didn't happen. My stop is below this wick. It didn't break any lower from there. So held into the move, ended up pushing back up here. Well, my theory still plays out because if it's not making a lower low, if it's not going to pull back, if it's going to keep testing and fighting, then hey, eventually I'm going to get what I want, I believe. So that's where ultimately this is making a much better move now. Hey, that was all without bookmap, wasn't it? So just pointing out, obviously, if your bookmap is going through like a little data issue right now, I'm not doing backflips over it here myself. I wasn't too happy this morning, right? But we got to make do with what we got. And what we got is level 3. We haven't even addressed that yet here right now. So real quick, for all of us here inside our live trading room, little practice. We go over this in class in phase 1 for stock course. But if you were to read this live right now, I'm not going to take a screenshot, but I want you to tell me, hey, what price has the largest order out there on the sell side, on the ask side of that program, the matrix, basically in the column in red? What price has the largest amount of shares with it? Mark Uday saying 230, 240, Sharon saying 235. Now, if we're kind of going to combine both these together, maybe the combo of these two put together outweigh this. I'm just asking for the one price that has the largest singular. So we'll go 240. We'll go 240 here for right now, either way. 347,000 shares sitting out there on the sell side. Now, hey, for a stock to go up, 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 as this already is doing, this is awesome. Well, I would like to think the first time this hits that resistance, it's likely to hold it as resistance. Is it possible it could break over it with time? Maybe even later today? Yeah. But strategically, for a stock that's already trending, I normally expect the first test to be the best test, where it's most likely to hold as, such as resistance there. So let me take a look at the daily chart. I haven't really done that yet. My entry was solely based on the pre-market resistance and the assumption that you had an iceberg at 210. Otherwise, I really haven't done much with game planning this. 250 as a 50-cent level. You kind of assume for there to be an iceberg there also. Hey, that also seems to be decent resistance back from end of last year, end of December, beginning of Jan here. So, hey, it's possible that acts once again as resistance. We also have, check this. This could be interesting even for like long term. You're thinking more for like over time across this calendar year. You never know. Just pointing out that this had great support for about 7 months, 6, 7 months here. So time-wise, that looks clean. Right off of like 221, 225, 226. Okay, so I'll kind of lean up towards 225. Kind of just round up there a bit. But point being, like, hey, it broke below it, and that should be resistance. Well, right now, it's been fighting it, and just now, even here, it kind of pushed over. So there might be a case for a better move on the stock ahead. Uday asking, won't you feel discouraged when the price moves sideways for some time and, in fact, starts moving down at around, like, 11:30? Right here, Uday? No, I think that you're thinking really, micro about it there, I'd say. And I don't mean that like in a bad way, just, we need to think big picture. So the stock's up today, right? It's been trending up since pre-market, right? So who's winning the battle? The buyers. As of right now, they are. Hey, if this breaks lower, if this can't hold over 209, that pre-market resistance, if it breaks below it more, then I'm going to start becoming like, pessimistic about the trade. Like, I don't think it's going to work out. But otherwise, this is looking great still. It was trending up even from here. It hasn't broken a higher high yet at the time that you're asking about. But otherwise, remember, this stock is also really like, low risk. So is it going to make me the big bucks? Well, I'm on like decent size. So thankfully, the more size you trade, it can be worth it at least. But outside of just saying that, it's low risk and that's good. But just pointing out that, hey, earlier I mentioned this to everyone. The only thing you don't want this to do is waste your time. Now, I'm speaking to like, probably not a few, but probably to like a smaller amount of us. So for anyone here that feels really good with their trades, you're printing pretty much every day, you're hitting your target pretty much every day, like $1,000, if not around there, a little less, a little more, either way. That is where, at least when it comes to trading more than one stock at a time, day trading, that is, swing trading different, but if you're day trading more than one stock at a time, you should really feel pretty good about like trading one stock first, right? But when you start juggling more than one thing at the same time, well, at least you got to make sure that your stops are set. And also, when I'm kind of juggling a couple, I'm not trying to trade category fives. I'm not trying to trade a basket of like crazy untradeable stocks. I'm not going to have any chance to focus on the finer details that I should be. So at least this is category one, right? This has a permanent 1 cent spread. So if I set my stop and I move on to my next trade, knowing that my T's are crossed, my I's are dotted, my shoes are tied, my seatbelt's on, whatever you want to call it, then, listen, if it drops and takes me out, it is what it is. That's no discouragement. We got to be more positive as human beings. We got to move on to the next little fishy out there in the sea. Like we said earlier with hymns, the more I get discouraged about like, why did I not get out here or here or here? The more I start beating myself up over that stuff, I'm going to miss that next trade, right? And this was prime time trading when this was pulling back. So, the more I'm wasting time like worrying about that, beating myself up, getting discouraged. There's other trades. There's other trades, guys. Focus on other stocks that can make us money. Reversal times at 10:30 in the morning. So if there's a chance for another stock to try and make a good push, then we'll be there for it. I know that there were a couple other stocks that popped earlier today. TMDE, that was one also in the morning that, hey, the more that we're focused on stocks not going in our direction, or if the trade didn't work out exactly the way we wanted to, we're going to miss out on other moves like this, TMDE. This made a perfect move, at least after we had called it out. Once the market opened up, this popped right at 9:35, 9:36 in the morning. It reversed nearly at 10:30. So this is like the perfect cyber clock type of trade too. Point being, just, the more that we kind of stress out, we're going to miss the next tradable opportunity. Now, hey, let's just run the same practice on this as we just did on Plug. I didn't trade this stock though, so at least here you'll get a more raw reaction as far as the levels and what to look for. Something like this though, hey, you already answered it to me. So for a cheaper stock, immediately I'm going to focus on 50-cent levels, whole numbers, just instantaneously. 350, 450. Boom. Okay. Now, in this case, what I want to do is I want to actually show you how to use like volume bars a little bit to your advantage. Like, let's say your book map's down and you're like, no, I don't know, where the volume's trading at. You kind of do, but you need to be picky with how you interpret it. So, for instance, you happen to have we'll start with this one right at 9:36 in the morning. Of course, this is when it's really starting to push. Well, look at this one larger volume bar here at first. This one. Of course, there's a big difference between the green and the red there. I mean, there's double the amount of green than there really is red there. So the buyers are winning this battle. Now, the question is where, right? So that's where ultimately you can try and rely on time and sales for that, kind of going back on the tape here. And you could also look at the volume profile on like the matrix for any of my TradeStation people. You have like the volume histogram there on the right side. It should give you a pretty good ability just to see what prices are trading a lot more volume. That was at 9:35 in the morning. So just give me a sec. I'm going to try and fish through this here, be hopefully relatively quick with this, but okay, so this is the exact moment where this ended up popping. This blasted higher here, pushed up. Let's read the tape. So right away, 14,000 shares got filled immediately at like 339. Nothing that, oh, no, there is something right here, 16,000, 360. There's a lot of prints at 359, 360. I like this here. Just quantity and quality. So both just kind of right at 359-ish, 360-ish, all of that put together. So that really could be a pretty strong level. The more the stock runs from it, the more the stock pops here and runs from it, there could be a case to see that resistance flip eventually into a cleaner support. Between that plus you could use 350 just as a 50-cent level. So pretty much the combination of those two prices. You might be wondering, why did this not touch 350 or break below 350? Just kind of hovered pennies above it. Well, very quickly, without using Bookmap, my thesis here is that there was likely volume filled at 350, and there was likely volume also filled at 359, 360 here. So the combination of those two prices put together, right? Even from pre-market, when this is testing resistance and trying to break out here at this time, this is even before the market opens, there very well could be just a bunch of buying pressure filled right at that 350 price. So 350, 360 kind of put together there. Combination of that area acted as a strong support. So ultimately, ended up making a pretty good move from there. At that point, hey, the same rules apply pretty much at 4. This I don't need to go through time and sales too much for, because the moment in which this blasts over $4, we tend to see probably your largest volume bar at that moment, right? And it already hit 4 earlier here, right? It touched it right here. The fact that it touched resistance shows at least, hey, there's some effort from buyers to try and break over or test that price at least. So the more that the stock keeps hammering that level in a smaller window, there's room for more. So that's just kind of based off of the volume-based levels that we typically assume first. But then when you check, time and sales, your volume profile, if you have the matrix, that can give you a pretty good idea. Now, though, here's the issue. This stock TMDE has moved up a lot, not today, but more from like Friday last week. Friday last week, the stock was 92 cents a share. Today, it popped up as high as 477. Not going to break out the old calculator for this one, but I'm going to assume that's over 500%, just doing the math. So with that, it's just to say, well, for as much as this goes up historically in such a short amount of time, it's gotta fail. It's gotta pull back at some point here, right? Well, it's a new IPO, so it doesn't have as much data to work with. That's the only thing that you can kind of use as like a blessing on this chart. It's really not a strong chart, just because like I don't feel like there's enough history to really call it strong. It's kind of wacky. Now, the fact that there's no historical data really outside of this means like, all right, well, if the buyers are fully in control, if they really wanted to push the damn thing up and try and break all-time highs, it's not that far off necessarily. So, well, at least compared to Friday last week, it's not that far off compared to all-time highs. However, though, there really isn't much when I'm using the daily chart here to try and like acknowledge support resistance. This could have been like a Monday on the 21st. You got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and just within that 4-day streak, this thing collapsed. This was from April of last year. And then outside of that, you don't really have anything that's strong as far as any sort of like level outside of these wicks. So in between this and this, what could we use? Well, we'll actually go into the chart here. I'm going to have a little fun right now just because I'm curious. I want to see something back from here. I'm going to dip into like the hourly chart or even the 15-minute chart. We'll really put this under like a microscope here. See if there's any super strong level across these days, zoomed in. But outside of that, I mean, hey, $5 is like a psychological level. Outside of your $1 prices, your George Washingtons, you got your Abraham Lincolns. So, that should be a pretty strong psychological level there too. Let's go back to this though. April 24th. I want to have a little fun. So I rarely have the chance to do this because you don't really have two wacky charts that look like this over time. So we're going to have a little fun. We're just going to go back to pretty much the month of April. I forgot the exact date, but this will give me enough space here. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Look at this thing. Are you kidding me? That's the actual graph that it had. I mean, you see the daily chart had that giant red candle of sell-off. You'd figure like at least there would be some room to see it like build support. This was actually like 5 or 6 halts in a row down. Holy smokes. Imagine getting stuck in that thing. That's horrible. So, I mean, I think this is as far back as I could even go. I can't go back any further. So not only is there like really any historical data in between these levels shown on the daily chart, but even here, look at this. This is insane. This is the regular hours. I can't use literally a single thing of this here. I wouldn't want to use this here at all. None of this makes sense yet. It's just like a couple little tiny 15-minute candles. I just would have thought there would have been at least something in between here that would have built out somewhat respectfully. This fell off the high diving board right into the pool. Pretty much. I mean, geez. So yeah, unfortunately, you can't really use anything there. That makes it that much more difficult. That is where you need to even furthermore rely on Bookmap. You need to rely on your psychological levels, your whole numbers, and your $5 prices here coming on up next. Let's see level 3 right now. All right, real quick, students, where do we have support on the right side of my screen? The matrix, that's our level 3 program. Where do we have support? So where do we have support? What do we got here, folks? Look on the right side, Uday. Look at the matrix. So we have support at 366. There's not much on the sell side here. I can't really use any of that. Nothing here I'm going to find as like any level. So that's all right because it did top off here, pulled back. Probably going to have resistance build somewhere, around these prices coming up next, around like 4, probably a little bit higher. I'd also assume for $4 to be a sense of an iceberg level. Now, the one thing I'll say is that there wasn't really like some massive spike of volume where there's a clear difference between the green and the red. This is a massive spike of volume, but it's not the same that we just went over from earlier this morning on the stock. Like here. That's a bigger difference between the green and the red right there on those respective candles. So Yeah, for right now, this TMDE, it's going to be interesting to see how this trade's going into this afternoon. But listen, the more that we happen to see a resistance getting poked at, poked at, poked at, I'll feel more and more confident with pulling the trigger. So is this going up right now? It is. Is this one of the craziest charts that we've ever seen in terms of like looking back from April of last year and seeing how far it fell off a cliff? Yeah, so I'm not trying to like, play casino here. I'm trying to be strategic with knowing where and when to get in. And quite frankly, the more patience that you have with doing that, you're going to have trades fall into your lap, right? Let me ask, who here is a member of CTU? You might be just a member in our room, not a full-time student yet, or maybe you're a brand new student that's still going through our curriculum. But who here has been a member or student for just about a month? If you're, with CTU for just about a month, a little less, a little more. No, Roberto, you've been with us forever. Come on. Roberto, you've been a student for the longest of times. Natalie, Mark, I'm talking about students that have been with us for only a month. Just about, give or take. 5 weeks, we'll let you answer that too. But, within about 4 or 5 weeks or so, well, this is where like you look at certain opportunities and you say like, oh, well, I should have gotten in there. I could have gotten here. Like, look at all, everyone else making money. This is where I kind of come back and just say there's always going to be other trades. Hey, this is moving up now. Could we have entered from 350, the 50-cent level here? And we talked about 50-cent levels, 50 cents, 350. Yeah, if someone was like at their desk, if they weren't, listening to me yap for the last 45 minutes, if they were more in the, presence of being a trader, well, they saw this kind of nip under and over. Well, as long as they take a clean entry and set a stop that's pretty, conservative below that level, well, they're doing everything that they should be doing. But if you miss that level and the stock's moving up to the next level, I'm not just bull rushing in. We got to wait. We got to reset. We got to take our time again, see where our levels are, and well, let's repeat the same process. The more that a resistance is getting poked at, poked at, poked at here over time, you're thinking that there's a good chance for it to run. So I have no problem just being patient, just waiting to see if this could retest and retest for and break over it eventually, and we'll go from there. All right. Real quick, everyone should be able to see the screen right now, right? Have it on TMDE, correct? Just want to make sure. I had a little screen issue earlier. Just want to make sure that all of our students are good to go. Good. All right, cool. All right, so I'll update you at least on a couple of other things before we wrap up. IBRX swing trade, still going to hold into that for a little while. This ended up basically filling a couple of different gaps over time. It effectively filled this one. Didn't touch 870, but got pennies away and had bounced back up. So that's actually the second gap fill since we started trading IBRX, in which it successfully filled pretty much. And at least for right now, for anyone that's just swing trading this like myself, there is no concern about anything yet. So if you were day trading this, your attitude about this may be different than mine because, hey, right now this is building up kind of nice here, but it's not up a lot today. It's not really breaking higher right now. For anyone that's in love with this stock, because I've been talking about it, well, just remember that with a better entry price, it gives you the ability to, see the stock have a few red days or even a red week or just to shake around and consolidate for a while. So, I want this to go up. And every time it makes a nice move, I'll call it out to like students like Grant, Abdul, Genevieve, etc. But just remember, like, unless if you're swing trading this with myself from earlier last month, you're in a different spot because if you're trying to day trade it, you got to make sure that the stock is making that big move shortly after. And the longer it's not, then it's just best to get out and move on to something else, right? But if you're in this trade hanging on from like single digits or from like $8, $6, $3, it gives you the chance to at least wait to see higher lows develop, see support continue to materialize like it did here, right? All right. Then lastly, as we're going to wrap up here in just a bit, folks, we're going to just head over to the SPY. Thank goodness. Wow. We are pushing back on up live, real time right now. SPY trying to make a recovery at least. I'm optimistic, but it's like weird. I'm optimistic, but I'm pessimistic at the same damn time. So long-term bullish. That's the first thing. Been long-term bullish, going to remain long-term bullish for a long time. But we have been just kind of testing support for the longest time here. I mean, this is like a psychotic chart here, just kind of like failing to break higher and then failing to truly break lower. Just give me a direction. Just give me something. Up, down, give me something. The last thing I like to see out of this is sideways. It creates good day trading moves for us, which I do like, but I'm sure every single one of us here could just take a breakout. Or shoot, even if this were to have broken lower and held under this as resistance, then you know what that would at least trigger. That would at least trigger the next big move down to where we could look to see support build and get a much better discount at a lower price compared to here. So it's just to say that even today, where you thought that we were going to flip support finally into resistance clean and then possibly drop back down, I'm not bearish and I'm not shorting much in this market here, but it's just to say that, right back on up we go, back into the, middle of it all we go. We're kind of in like Inception. You hear me talk about that movie Inception with Leo DiCaprio. I mean, we have been in limbo for the last like 3 months, 4 months. So, hey, long term, I'll take it because perhaps this could build us back up again, go back up. And I would appreciate that, right? We all would. Just it's been a little frustrating because where you're at least looking for more confirmed direction within the market, just when you think you have it in both directions. I mean, even here, once this ended up breaking above like 690-ish, 689 here, there were multiple, times where we thought we were going to run and then we fell back down. And then this actually built out as stronger resistance over time. So it's just to say, man, it's been a little frustrating. Overall, I'm happy to have today because at least as long as we stay over this damn support, then perhaps we'll get that better move, right? Real quick, actually, as we jump off in the next 1 or 2 minutes, we're going to abridge this traders talk just a moment here. But what's everybody's favorite swing trades going into the next month? I want to hear from everybody. I want to hear from Grant, Michael, Genevieve, Natalie, Barbara. You got Scott. You got Anna, Alan, Sonia here. What's everybody's like favorite swing trade going into the next month? What's the one that you're most excited about? What's the one that you're already in and killing it on? And either way, I'm going to get a mixed bag of answers. Just want to hear. Sandy saying that he sold his Oracle. He's out. There you go. All right. Or she sold her Oracle. Sorry about that. And she got out. Sorry about that. And nice profit there from Sandy. It's funny. My grandfather's nickname was Sandy, so I always think that was funny. IVRX, Uma, he's in on the Netflix, killing it there with Fausto. So congratulations, Uma. Genevieve on AVXX. What ticker is this for, Genevieve? Is this is this AVGO? Is this different ETF? What for what stock? Scott on JP Morgan, Roberto on the NVIDIA ETF. Genevieve saying AVAV, AeroVironment. Very nice one. I got fat fingers here right now. So AVAV, this thing had a crazy day yesterday, it looks like, but as long as it can at least try and hold over support again here, there's a good chance for it to recover. So it's already trying. But more or less, though, keep in mind, folks, as long as we could try and contain over support across the SPY, then there could be a great case to see a lot more upside, room. But otherwise, if you're a bit hesitant within this market and you're not listing that you're in on any of these trades, or you don't have a trade you're excited about just yet, well, again, just take your time, be patient. And hey, you know what? You probably already are because if you're not in on much right now, goes to show that you are taking your time and Perhaps it's because you're a bit uncertain, but that's where we'll have the chance to work together individually, private coaching. We'll have the chance to really just focus on the simple things. For reference, is HIMS a great swing trade? No. Then why did I swing trade it yesterday? Because I sold half my day trade position and at least I said, all right, I'm going to roll the dice. And if it pulls back, I'm just fine with that. That's okay. So, of course, there's acceptance with that, but this chart is not good. Now, for any of our students writing to me here, just the trades that they're in or looking forward to, listen, as long as the stock has a better chart than this thing here, you're on the right page, at least as a true swing trade. Dwayne on the Navita stock, higher lows, been stuck in some consolidation, but higher lows, that's much better than HIMS. Allen on the RTX, no comment even, right? I don't think we need to comment on this chart, right? This is perfect. Can you look at PSLV? That's a silver ETF. So silver has just been so crazy. This is a short squeeze, right? Where shorts had to have covered over time. Otherwise, they'll get margin called. But this is where after a short squeeze, you're going to see extreme volatility. I mean, more down days than anything. So over time, it's probably going to build out, but you need to make sure from this point that you retain higher lows. That's kind of all you're looking for there as far as a potential swing trade. And then ultimately the payoff being a higher high or retracement back up there. Natalie, how about that? A drone ETF. DRNZ. Whoa, check that out. Appreciate you, Natalie. Thank you. And didn't know about this until right now. So the more you know, right? And we do trade a lot of the drone stocks. Going back to those from yesterday. I mean, ONDS, very strong long-term chart. The ONDS, the RCAT. The RCAT, very strong long-term chart. Higher lows, needs to make a new higher high over time. But hey, it just did back in January. So this is a very strong chart. But those drone stocks, interesting to know that, Natalie. Yeah, so appreciate you kind of filling us in there. I wouldn't really trade this. This would be something to really keep as a guide, though, for the other drone stocks. This will kind of represent the whole sector, right? Barbara says, I don't usually swing trade. I pretty much just day trade. Hey, then perfect. Then excellent then, right? Because at least as a day trader, what we love here with intraday trading, we basically reset ourselves each and every day. Each and every day, it's a brand new hole or a brand new round of 18 holes in golf, right? Like totally different golf course, totally different set of 18 holes. If you're not a golf aficionado, my apologies, but hey, as a day trader, it's like basically waking up each morning, going out to a totally brand new golf course and hitting 18 holes. So at least there, you have to go through the same motions, make sure, hey, stock's going up, up, up. Who's winning the battle? The buyers. All right, where are the buyers winning the battle from, right? I'll tell you what, I'm saying that to everybody else. I'm not saying that to Barbara. Barbara probably knows that as good as anyone here, one of our very successful traders. So just to say, though, that if you were swing trading, well, the key will be long-term. And granted, we actually did cover that. We went over that quite a bit just in our phase 2 stock course just from last week. May as well bust this open one more time before we finish up this workshop. But keep in mind, again, we just came off these classes here. We just wrapped all this up last week. We're actually now on to phase 3 of our stock course for the month of February, technically, albeit we're in March right now. But, we're in our advanced class currently. Later on today, Fausto will be continuing the phase 3 stock course. So what we've learned already in, phases 1 and phases 2 here, swing trading versus day trading, it all comes down to just following clean trend, right? Last one here, folks. We're going to jump off just in a second here. Can you just check out the CLS? Needs to really get back up and above this, I'd say. It is hanging on for dear life. It can hang on, don't get me wrong, but today, tomorrow, Thursday is going to be critical there. Last one for real. KMB. Expensive. Seller's been winning the battle, so it's a good short. Wow, this thing's really been getting hit today, huh? Yeah, I mean, really good short in terms of the chart, Uma. I mean, the sellers have been winning this battle, right? Long term, short term. Where's our next support? Now, I don't have my bookmap data running, so this would be more ideal for me to, use bookmap here, but I would like to assume off the dollar levels at least 104, 103, then 100 there more often than anything. All right, folks. Hey, we are going to wrap up at least for right now. So if you have any questions, if you're inside our live trading room, you can private chat me. I'm right here all throughout the day. I'm going to head into a staff meeting in about like 4 minutes, I think, right? But hey, any questions, feel more than free to private chat me. Otherwise, for any of us on social media, if you're on the weekend right now, if you're a student that's looking to send me a journal, then feel more than free to shoot me over a quick email with your file, with your trading journal in full. But you can send that directly over to josh@ctutrading.com. And then, hey, if you're on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc., popping up lower left, just make sure to hit the follow and subscribe buttons right there at Cyber Trading U, namely on X, Facebook, Instagram. I got my own X account there too. We're linking it up also. CT Josh, how about that? But YouTube, or even on TikTok, I've been told just right now. We don't dance for you on TikTok, mind you. We don't do the Irish step for you on TikTok, unfortunately. But we teach you how to follow smart money. So make sure to hit the follow and subscribe buttons down there if you're looking to learn more, as well as join us directly inside our live trading room. You can go right down to the link scrolling on the bottom below in blue. A little alliteration there for us on social just to wrap up. But you can scan that QR code as well with your phone, with your camera. Either way, it'll take you right to the same page to join us directly with Michael, Leda, Natalie, Bill, Genevieve. You got Day, you got Dwayne, Barbara, Patrick, Sharon, you got Tim, you got all of us here just inside our live trading room right now. And you know what? I like to be funny when I do this. For any of us on social, if you think I'm making these people up, these are all of our students here, right? So, hey, got Barbara, Dwayne, Mark, Nabil, Uma, Mike, Roberto, Sandy, all of us right there. So again, if you're on social media, make sure to scan that QR code with your phone, with your camera. If you're not as fancy with the times, just go to that link scrolling on the bottom below. Take care of you right from there, folks. All right, hey, next audio broadcast will be at 2:30 p.m. Eastern later in the day, just for the afternoon, and we will go from there, folks. Talk to you all soon.